Institute. I'm trying to mute while I'm talking. Welcome to the Blueprints of Wellbeing webinar series. Please introduce yourself in the chat and let us know where you're joining us from. Before we start, here's some quick logistics. Feel free to select speaker or gallery view, and please keep yourself muted. I will mute everyone now. Speakers, please remember to unmute yourself before you talk. Please turn on your camera if you can. This webinar is being recorded, and we will share the recording along with the chat, important information, and the slide deck in a follow-up email to everyone who has registered. Please post your questions in the chat, but keep in mind that we likely can't address all of them. It is now my pleasure to introduce Terry Slavik-Tsuyuki, Chair of the Global Wellness Institute's Wellness Communities and Real Estate Initiative. Terry, good morning. Over to you.
Good morning, Jesse, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for making time to join us today, and welcome to the fourth in our Blueprints of Wellbeing webinar series. Our goal with this series of webinars is to inspire curiosity and engagement with wellness real estate through conversations with the makers of wellness real estate around the world, where you'll get the chance to hear from them directly about their approach, their lessons learned, the outcomes seen, and really to enable you, we hope, to learn from them and to adapt these approaches in your own work. So we're excited to get started. So first off, what's the definition? How do we define wellness real estate? We think about it as built environments that are proactively designed to support the holistic health of those who live, work, play, learn, or engage in the spaces that we create. If we think about this in a really big picture way, this is a very large charge, and Susie Ellis is with us this morning, the CEO of the GWI. 85% of our health outcomes are determined by our built environment, which means only 15% is in our genetic makeup. So we have an outsized responsibility to make an impact here. Next slide. So how do we do this? Well, we think about variable channels. And if you go to the next slide, JF, think about a piece of music. We've got a great conductor of music. Not every symphony, in every symphony, every note isn't played to the same degree or the same level of volume. So we think about the same, we think about wellness real estate, and we look at these domains of wellness being social, physical, mental, environmental, economic, and civic. And while they will all be present in every case, they might be in different levels of degree. I think we can all agree on this call, wellness is immeasurable. It's the new why. It's the reason people are making decisions to purchase a home or a community in certain locations or spend their money traveling to certain destinations. So it's really critical. Next slide. And so we work at the intersection at the GWI and on our initiative. Oh, cut for one sec, thanks. At the intersection of wellness and real estate. And really, we look at what makes communities and places strong with a focus on what makes them contribute better to human health and well-being. So how do we do that? What's the impact? Go to the next slide, JF. And then the next slide, let me introduce JF. So Jean-Francois Garneau integrates wellness and well-being into places that define our lives. And he's created development strategies all around the world and provides creative direction and development for services for resort and urban mixed use projects, as I said, globally, things like places like Europe, India, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, the US, and Canada. I can tell you he's very passionate about real estate development. And he's also a keen study on the creation of cities, towns, villages, and the mechanics and behavioral aspects of people, places everywhere. He's also a chair of the ULI Europe Hospitality Council. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to JF to moderate the conversation today and introduce our speakers. JF.
Thank you, Terry, for the kind introduction. Thank you. So thank you, everyone, for attending. We have some great content for everyone today about advancing the state of wellness real estate. And we always strive to have different views represented, different categories. So we have two gentlemen today that are joining us that are really going to bring the discussion to a next level. Before we go there, I'd like to introduce you to another partner in crime of ours, Joanne Balaguer, who is a member of the initiative and who is also an architect and a master planner who's been involved with the creation of wellness real estate for a number of years. Joanne is the founder and principal of Slow Life Architects. And when I first met Joanne, I'm going like, someone that names his firm Slow Life, I need to work with. It's just fantastic. So Joanne, I'd like to perhaps to invite you, don't forget to unmute yourself, to invite you to introduce one of our speakers, Ricard. Joan, if you want.
Okay. Hello, everyone from Barcelona, Spain. Today, there are people from the States, there are people from Europe, there are people from everywhere. I think that will be great to share our visions. With Ricard, we met 2 years ago because from the initiative, we started researching people that was working hard on the wellness and sustainability. And we are both from Barcelona, and we have all interest in an enthusiasm, I would say, in better living. So just for the Spanish-speaking community, I want to say que aprovecho esta oportunidad para daros la bienvenida, para que nos sigáis en nuestras iniciativas y en nuestros webinars, y espero que esta sesión sea motivadora para vosotros. Vamos a seguir en inglés porque si no, no nos vamos a entender. Okay, so I just want to introduce now to Ricard Santamaria. He's the Managing Director of House Healthy Buildings. The mission that it's on top of the top, I would say, is to place healthy and sustainability at the core of every building, of every project. He's a master degree from Barcelona Institute, BAU Biology. He's in the working group of health and spaces at the Green Building Council. He's member of the Architecture and Healthy Society of the Catalan Academy of Medical Science. He's member of the working group of the College of Architects of Catalonia, and he has participated personally in the strategies of the Provincial Council of Barcelona. So many things and from many different approaches. So I think, Ricard, it is your turn. Sure,
No,
we will enjoy.
sorry, Joan, before you go there, I'm just going to introduce our second panelist and second guest.
Okay, sorry.
Just quickly introduce David Darlington, who's an architect, and he is a principal and regional hospitality leader for Gensler, Latin America, and also a project director in Gensler, Costa Rica's office. If you guys don't know Gensler, look them up. They are really at the top of their game in architecture globally, and they have been really strong in health and wellness. So David specializes in hospitality and commercial design, and also wellness and integrating wellness into large-scale projects. And David is also a really good guy. We just happened to also work together on a couple of projects, and he's got a very, very good approach. So with that said, Ricard, we will hand it over to you.
Ricard, you need to mute.
Did we lose Ricard?
Sorry about that. Hello, everyone, again. Regards from Barcelona, as Joan was saying. Well, House is a little company that, as Joan mentioned, we try to transform, to help, to carry with all the architects and developers, to add and include strategies to get a better architecture projects in order to reach a better comfortable level, wellness, at the end, health. No? So let's see a few words and examples about how we try to do that. In the beginning, we make an observation exercise. So we need to understand where is located the project, where are the variables that can make I mean, how do we take the different decisions? Not all the projects request the same. Location, the architectural proposal, the climate, the budget, who is going to be the user, what is going to be the use, all these different things define the final proposal. No? Here is explaining what I was mentioning. And in the beginning, the most important thing is understand which are the priorities, no? Attending all the different variables, which are the priorities. No, we cannot pretend, we cannot do everything the same like copy and paste policy, because it makes you, I mean, it's going to be a big mistake and you are expending money in a very silly way. No? So past this, the project, go ahead. So based on this observation, no, what we try is define the objective. As I was saying, every project requests different goals. At the end, what we are looking for is the create a healthy environment, but it's not the same if we are talking about offices or a school or senior living or an industry or logistics. Every case, at the end, all of them are buildings, but the activity that we're going to do there, it's totally different. The architecture is different. The location is different. And also the economical point of view, the budget also, it's determining when you have to take some decisions. So we analyze all of these variables, we define the objective, and according with that, we suggest and propose different strategies. And every strategy, it's focused in reaching one of the goals. No? It could be maximize the air quality, or attacking the acoustic comfort, or focus on avoiding some materials, or lighting. So we will see the different chapters that we attend. And what we do after to suggest all of those strategies and solutions, it's go with, I mean, on-site, supervising and controlling and checking that all of the policies are well integrated, and then we monitorize and we measure at the end that everything is performing or acting as we thought in the beginning to reach those goals. No? Go ahead. And again. To do that, we have created our own indicator, which is called Healthier, that it's a kind of index that help us to measure, to make a simulation about how much health every decision can reach. No? So what's the difference between use this system or this other system, this material or this other material? In which chapters, in which strategies we expend or we invest our money. And then for every decision, for every system, solution, or material, we have calculated the Healthier. The Healthier has two axes, two axes. One is how this solution makes this space better in terms of creates more comfort, more wellness, sensorial, many of the occasions. And the other way is, what is the capacity of this system, solution, or material to avoid toxicity or to avoid sickness? No, it's a different approach, but at the end are two numbers that help us to take decisions. No? Well, how we address all of these chapters in the next slide, we treat these three chapters as nutrients. So we treat and we study and analyze and evaluate the air as a nutrient of our body, or these 8,000 or 10,000 liters that we ingest every day, and then the water, considering that is part of our buildings, and also the light, especially sunlight. No, treat the light as a nutrient because, as you know, it helps us to synthesize some vitamins and of the circadian circle. And the second chapter is the environmental comfort, with these three big themes: thermal comfort with humidity, ventilation and temperature, acoustic comfort, and visual comfort. So different strategies help us to reach an optimal level of quality in every of these topics. And the next one is how we create relationship with the natural environment. So natural animal and plant. So how we can integrate and create a presence of these two important aspects and how they affect positively to our body and organism. And one of the questions that Joan introduced me to, I mean, he asked me to touch is this, the economic and social value of healthy buildings. So every time that everyone asks me about this, is like, wow, this is so obvious, no? It's, do we really need to justify that health is important for our buildings? Do we need to justify that health is important in our life? Well, at the end, is one of the goals that all of us aspire, no? To reach happiness. It's difficult to imagine levels of happiness without a big level of in health. No? So next, well, this is what I was saying, no? How paradoxical thing is that we even need to ask what add value comes from creating spaces with a higher health standards, no? But it's curious because the market still insists, no? It's going to be my asset more, it's going to get more value if I do this or that. It's my life or the life of my tenants or the user of the building or those people who are going to work in that office or industry is going to be better. Of course, it's going to be better. Maybe we cannot measure it as we like it because it's very multifactorial. No, as we know, there are many different factors that create this level of wellness. But of course, the indoor quality comfort, the indoor comfort is one of the most important. Go ahead. Ahead. Okay, I think my time it's sorry, Jean-Francois, I promise I didn't cross the 7 minutes, but I think here, well, you can share my presentation with all of the attendants and you can enter in one of, these are some profits that are obvious that you obtain when you are working or living or resting or enjoying holidays in a healthy building. No? Increase your productivity, increase the capacity of, I mean, learning. There are many positive things. No? Next, very quickly, we can enter in the details maybe in the second part of the webinar. Just few things about 3 important projects. One office, this is Slow Building Barcelona. Go ahead, because I want to stop. Go ahead. Next. Next. And here there is the important slide. This is the important one, because here in this kind of net, we indicate in which aspect we have put more effort. I mean, investing effort, economical effort. Why this picture? Keep this picture in your eyes, in your memory, and let's compare it with the other two. Jean-Francois, you go farther. If you go, okay, this is the Hotel Cugat, where we have done different solutions to reach similar levels of wellness. Go ahead. More. Okay, more. The next
Beautiful.
net. Okay, this is a similar scheme, different picture. And then if we compare with the last one, is a residence building. This is private apartments, family apartments. Go ahead, go ahead. Okay, next. Okay, the conclusion is that the 3 nets are different, not totally different, because of course, air quality is always one of the most important things, but due to the location or the use of the building or the budget, our decisions, the strategies that we have implemented in the project are different. I think this is quite relevant, because when you put the people in the middle of the project, and the question is, okay, how much we have per square meter to maximize, to improve the comfort of these people for the next 20 years, what we must do? That's the question. And to answer this question, there are tons of possible or potential answers. We try to to guess and to define the correct ones, no? Discussing with the property, with the developers, with the architects. We are just suggesting, proposing, and always with the rigor and of the science, no? Everything that we do must be measurable, or we can measure it at the end to demonstrate that those decisions had sense, no? And I think it's the end, Jean-François. Okay, so sorry for this. Oh, 12 minutes, Jean-François. Sorry about that. I could
That's okay.
faster.
I think we agreed like it was 25 euros per additional minute, right? That's the fine usually. Thank you so much, Ricard. Those are great projects. I really like the way you illustrate the metrics and the way you think about this. We'll come back to some questions later. I think we'll just sort of flow right in to a presentation by David, and then we'll come back to questions for Ricard and David and joint questions for the both of you, if that's okay. So David, I give it to you.
Thanks, JF. Hi, everybody. Happy to be here. So thanks, Ricard. Amazing presentation. I want to go a little more remedial and talk a little bit about some hospitality projects we do in the region and how we start those and how we design, not just to serve, but hopefully to help restore the experience. So unlike Ricard, we maybe don't rely on our checklists and our data, but we rely more on the way of thinking that begins with presence and belonging to our projects. And then we come with the much smarter people than me, like Ricard, and we add these more technical pieces to it that complete the circle. If you want to go to the next one, Jeff. So a little bit about Gensler before I jump in, just to ground us, as JF mentioned before, a very large firm, but what really defines us isn't our scale, it's about impact. And we work across many different types of practice areas, from cities to offices to resorts to industrial, and as Ricard mentioned, each one of them has their own solutions, right? So really, we have one main focus at the end of the day, and that's to shape environments that elevate the human experience. So I'm going to focus today specifically on a couple small projects we've done in this region, but there's a link here to the wellness page of the firm and the work that they do. If you want some more information, there you can find it. So regionally, JF also mentioned, I sit in Costa Rica, which is the hub for Latin America. We also work in Mexico and in Bogota and in Dominican Republic. We have teams there as well. And we all, in our hospitality practice, we all have the same kind of vision for what we're doing. And that's creating places that are rooted in their surroundings and they're shaped by the climate and the culture. And the architecture grows from the inside out. And so when I talked about this a couple of months ago, I said, I don't know if we do wellness, but really after I thought about it a little bit, we really we lay the framework for what becomes wellness. And I think we like I said, we rely on these technical experts to layer in the mechanical systems and the air quality and the circadian lighting and all those things. But I think our role is to set the tone and create a canvas for those things to start to be added to that. So this idea of invisible architecture brings rhythm with the surrounding and puts emphasis not on what you see, but what you feel. So a couple projects. So we do big projects. We do all different kinds of sizes of projects. I'm going to present a couple small projects that are kind of off the beaten path, because I thought that they had a kind of a wellness story that resonated. So El Bosque, we always start with a story. It's not for branding purposes, but really to ground a concept and to make something for us to build off in the future. And for this project in particular, we kind of asked ourselves, what does it feel like to live in the rhythm of the forest? And the concept became, and we'll talk about it in a second, became a day in the life. How does architecture follow what the sun's doing, what the breeze is doing, and how do you find these quiet moments between movement? So we looked at this, we didn't start necessarily with the program, but we started with kind of the pulse of the user and what this user wanted on a day-to-day basis, and used that as a foundation for the form. So El Bosque is a regenerative residential community. It's in Nosara. It's the owners own some hotels in the area, so there is a heavy hospitality feel to it, and their vision kind of carries over. We didn't do the master plan here. That was done by Vita Design. But our task was to design 3 model homes that can demonstrate what it's like to live lightly and meaningful in a place like El Bosque. So the homes were elevated in their context, and the idea was to make them as porous as possible and let them just gently sit on the forest, open to light and air and the sounds around them. And it really was an opportunity for us to show that design doesn't have to conquer nature to be powerful. It can get along with nature. If you want to go to the next one, Jeff. So we were given the full study. The ownership was really serious about what they wanted to put here and how they wanted to react to the natural site. So the full study of the canopy, the ecology, exact tree locations, what was happening on the ground, wildlife movement, drainage, and we were really looked at, so how do we implement strategies to add to this human experience? And again, in this diagram, you can see we lift it up, we open it up from side to side, we let things flow naturally, whether it's air or water or even the species below, and really allow for a sensory approach. You feel the breeze, you feel filtered light, you hear the sounds of things moving around you. If you want to go to the next one, Jeff. We used mass timber for the structure. The idea was to create a standardized grid system and standardized members so that a large part of this structure could be quickly assembled on site as a kind of a prefabricated system and do minimal disturbance to the ecosystem there. Really looking to impact through simplicity and making the structure part of the story, not just something that supported the building around it. Jeff, the next one. And then the story itself as a concept, again, we imagined a day in the life and how, and use that to shape how space could support these daily rituals, you know, walking to the shower in the morning outside, or how the light filters into the kitchen in the mornings, or returning from the beach after a long day where you sit on the deck in the shade. And we really use that to show that it wasn't about amenities. It was reacting to life through vignettes and invitations to slow down and to notice and to belong really to the community that was happening around you. Maybe the next one, Jeff. And so this is the final rendering of one of the homes. It's going to start construction this month, actually. You can see how the light and the air and the rhythm and the still starts to shape the lines of what's happening. And there's really no hard boundary between the internal and external landscape. It's more of kind of a continuous breath from side to side. So, and it's something that we try to be really responsive and quiet and make it life, but still. And the next project, so now we go from stillness to movement. This is Surf Simply. It's very close to El Bosque, actually. This is a LEED Platinum certified project. And the idea in this one was how do you create something intimate and efficient and make it around something that's learning, right? About learning. So it's a tropical hotel. There's 10 keys. It's very small. They do week-long programs that you come for the whole week and everything's there and you learn how to surf, basically. High performance coaching and really like an easy, intimate beach house that your friend owns or something. It's a pretty fun project. If you want to go to the next one, Jeff. So in Surf Simply, we really try to focus on making sure every space serves a purpose, and it's very simple. Subdued arrival. This is an arrival of somebody arriving, open air lounges for reset and connection, easy, simple spaces, nothing excessive. Everything has a use. Everything's there for a reason. The materials are super honest. A lot of board form concrete and wood, local wood. And it's just really an intuitive layout. Everything happens around the heart, and goes out from there. And it really is kind of a nod to the surfing, to the way they teach surfing, where it's all about this flow and rhythm and repeatable moments of times for insight and connection. Next, Jeff. So this is a place where 10 people come, or it could be couples or more, but it's a very small weekly activity that happens. So it's really about people growing and growing together. And so the idea was to design spaces that were for connection, right? So in the main space, there's a communal table where all the meals are eaten. Everybody shares their stories of the day, what they've learned, different experiences they've had. Lots of indoor, outdoor circulation and connections. The guest rooms, these are the guest rooms on the side and top here, kind of orbit around this communal heart. And then the pool becomes part of this daily ritual, pool, ocean, and classrooms where they play back and teach you about what you're doing. So really, the architecture is not about the performing of it. It's about hosting these activities on a daily basis. And then efficiencies in how we build. In this part of the world, we tend to be kind of remedial in how we do things. We can talk about that maybe later. But solar, passive shading and ventilation, water reuse, and low impact infrastructure were all keys, and something the client really wanted. This house, this project, he wanted this to be there for 50 to 100 years. He wanted it to be there for the long run, and he believed in investing in that upfront. Next, Jeff. So really, these moments throughout the project talk about movement and movement and memory, outdoor showers, barefoot paths. This one happens to be a surf, stretch, and yoga studio, and it's anchored by this tree of knowledge on the wall. No, go to the next one, Jeff. Sorry. There you go. It's anchored by this tree of knowledge on the wall, which walks you through the different surf history and techniques and things that you're there to learn. Next one, Jeff. And again, these quiet rooms and bright coaching spaces for teaching, reflecting, connecting. It's really, trying to find moments and reminders to breathe and move and connect. Part of the, I think, the overall philosophy of this school. I want to show a quick 60-second video. Yeah, this is part of a longer video, but I think it tells kind of part of the journey.
My name is Rue Hill, and I'm the founder of Surf Simply. I remember that I had an art master when I was at school, and we were all trying to be the next great artist, trying to say something unique out in the world. And I remember he said to us, like, you guys are 18, you don't have anything interesting to tell the world. What you need to do right now is you need to learn how to use all of these tools of creating art, a paintbrush, a camera, clay, and metal. Just learn how to create what you want to create, and then as you get older and you have something to say, you'll know how to say it. And that was actually a really important part of Surf Simply, because the ocean is very much the same thing. Surfing is the same thing. It's this incredibly complicated, dynamic environment where people are kind of go out there and they want to enjoy themselves and express themselves.
So that's it. I think there's one more slide, right, Jeff?
Yeah, two.
Two, okay. So I mean, at the end, we believe our role isn't just design, it's really to be to care and be responsible about how we do it. It's about the land and the culture and the people for who we create these experiences. And if a place feels right and holds you and breathes with you and gives you space to be, then we feel like, you know, that's the beginning of the purpose of what we do. And then, you know, these layers of technology and innovation and all these other things can be added to that base and hopefully be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. Let's go. I have got a couple of questions for you guys, obviously. Ricard, if I might jump directly to you, and maybe we just go into normal mode here. I can bring your presentations back up if you need them. Ricard, you made a case for, you know, the healthy criteria and wellness and infusing wellness everywhere. A lot of people on our initiative are concerned about that, and we're sort of thinking we're in the same space. Why do you think it's so hard to introduce healthy criteria into projects? Why do they almost, I would say, they're getting more and more recognition, but it's hard to make sure that you can bring them over the line? Have any thoughts?
Well, I don't really have the answer. Because if I will have the answer, maybe we will get more projects, no? It is tough. It is true that it's tough. We don't really know why something so obvious. It's create a healthy spaces, breathable spaces. Why is so tough to convince to convince developers more than users? I think the first barrier is the developer to gamble, to decide, okay, I'm gonna follow this way. I'm gonna create buildings or residences or hospitality places with more healthy level. It is different. It is difficult, especially when we are discussing about something so important as health. I'm wondering if, in general, market don't really believe that what happens inside of our buildings affects our health. So if everybody would be convinced about what is happening here inside, the air that I breathe, the light that it's helping me to read, and many more things, the acoustic comfort, the humidity, all these aspects would affect our health individually. Then the reaction of the market will be totally different. No? If we compare with other markets, like for example, food market or fitness and sports, when people vinculate factor with, no, if I do this, I got this. If I don't do this, I got this negative thing. So is still the market, I think, is not mature enough to understand this or to believe this relation between indoor spaces and health. For me, it's the only answer to understand why it's so tough. No, I also the regulation, as you know, in Europe and also in the US, is not pushing sufficiently to promote, no, to go more in this direction. But what is true is those who really gamble or who really try on this way, they are getting good results in terms of satisfaction of the users, and not only, also economically. Part of the market is reacting positively with these projects.
It's interesting. So as an example, so to the group, I live in Switzerland, and there's just a new regulation that came out on the sustainability side, which has been Minergie, that's been used in Switzerland for many, many years. And if you conform to that, you get extra density, which is a no-brainer for developers. And for the first time in the last month, the new revision has health metrics built into it. For now, it's just one metric in one chapter, but it's a huge breakthrough. And I've been telling everyone here that it is a huge breakthrough. Do you, you showed us these graphs or spider graphs that are really interesting because we also recognize that, like the analogy we use is about the music mixer, like Terry was mentioning, is like not all levels are going to be to 10 all the time. So it's good. But what do you use to measure the impact? Do you use some of the, study of neuroscience and architecture measuring concretely anything, or do you rely on some studies that have been done because the documentation and the studies are starting to build now and making the case that proper light or proper this, or even having a master plan that encouraged physical activity has some real measurable benefits. Are you seeing anything that's making a breakthrough?
Everything we do or everything we suggest to do is based on science, but we apply a criteria that if we do this, we're going to create a better conditions of life. But we cannot measure it how improve the quality of life of the users of that building. We cannot say, okay, if you do this, your expectancy of life is going to be increasing 2 years or 3 years, or your the risk of get cancer or whatever disease is going to be reduced in 10 or 15%. We think so, but we cannot demonstrate that. No? And
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit tricky that some actors are asking. I know data is important. We incorporate data in our methodology, but we cannot request always data as the only condition to create or to carry out some strategies, because there are some data that we are not capable to obtain nowadays. Of course, things are changing very, very quickly with new IA methodologies and big data and sensorizing everything. Maybe in a few years we can obtain some relevant data. No, this is a big debate because it's also how this affect to the privately of everyone. Do we really want to know everything about us in terms of how many milligrams of
Yes.
formaldehyde have you ingest every day, or how many particles 2.5 are in your, I don't know. It's difficult. But what it's obvious, I think, and we can argue easily, is everything we include or we add in the project makes the project better. How much percent? We don't really know. We cannot enter in that field because it's tricky. It's put numbers to everything. It's
For sure. And I can see also, I'm just like from the corner of my eye. So Stephen from International Wellbeing Institute, of course, is mentioning, the well building standards and all of that. And it's sort of like, thank you for acknowledging that. And also Ali, who said that most building codes in the US focus on health from the fire perspective, which is very true. So like, we'll make sure you don't die. That's good for your health. That's a very good comment. Thanks, Ricard. Maybe just jumping to David. David, you shared a bunch of projects. They're small in scale, but they seem like really big in intention. And I think from your perspective of saying, look, we'll set the stage for health and wellness to emerge. How do you scale that kind of contextual design, like for a huge urban project or much larger developments or across brand portfolios?
I think it's definitely a challenge, but I think if you start with the right questions, like we try to, right, whether it's a home or 300 rooms, and talk about the spirit and the rhythm and how do people live and function. I think it's if it's embedded in the DNA, I think it can scale. The big moves and we've seen it scale, right? We've seen it scale depending on the seriousness of the brand or the seriousness of the client. I think our challenge in this region,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Our challenge in this region is that we struggle to make the case on budgeting. I think Ricard didn't say that, but I think at the end of the day, it's all about dollars, right? And so how do we convince and show our clients the value of making these investments? And like I said, there's still a tendency to go towards more remedial solutions, which is okay. I think JF, you mentioned this new law in Switzerland. These incremental changes, you know, eventually they become a big change. So I think we have to take any positive we can out of this. But I think as the technologies improve and case studies show return on investment and guest expectations evolve, the momentum is growing, and these incremental shifts will become baseline for the future.
Well, it kind of leads me into, it's interesting you mentioned, it kind of leads me into the next question, because Ricardo alluded to that also, and you talked about it, David. I think, you know, the industry as a whole seems to invest in a lot of technology driven stuff within the building industry, because we can measure, you know, I mean, it's useful, it's essential, but we can measure, you know, the insulation factor of a wall, and that seems to have continued. And, you know, I think many of us share the view that the technology-driven wellness solution is probably something that's invisible. It's in the background. It supports. And I see that, you know, in your work and also in Ricard's work, you seem to be able to balance the innovation and maybe the intuition of a project, you know, Ricard, to your sort of like, what are the questions we're trying to answer? What are we trying to solve for in terms of wellness? And I think you showed us a couple of examples. And again, with your spider graphs, Ricard, that was good. And David, I like, you know, your day in the life of and saying, well, this is what we're solving for. So how do you see, maybe a question for both of you, the balance between that really sort of tech-driven innovation, the new thing that we're going to put in a building, vis-a-vis the intuition and the design of a master plan that just proposes some, you know, serendipity and makes your brain feel better and gives you ability to walk to go somewhere?
Well, I think it's both and, right? Not either or. I mean, the tech, as Ricard, and he can talk about it more, the technology every day, it's something new, and you know, how do you monitor these things and make sure that that part is working. But as we talked about, so there's that's kind of the technological part and the things that are working on that way, but then there's the way you feel when you leave, right? And at the end of the day, I think for me, if I go to a resort or a space, I don't necessarily remember the smart things that are happening. I just remember how it made me feel, right? And so I think this design, in my opinion, design leads, and then these other things are, like you say, in the background, as long as they're not a complicated thing where you have an iPad where you have to press a million buttons, right? That it's just taking care. I think it can absolutely be part of the story for sure, but it doesn't need to be in your face, right?
Ricard, any view on the overlap between intuition and tech?
Well, of course, we have to use and take profit from new technologies and new, from new technologies and new methodologies and tools. But first of all, maybe we should turn back. I mean, we have to recuperate some architecture traditions. I mean, we have many passive solutions that are already created, and all of us, we know, but maybe we forgot that, or market things that do this and that, it's old-fashioned, or it's not really, maybe innovation, or part of innovation is recuperate some old methodologies. And for example, I don't know, some basic like ventilation, no? That creates good ventilation, or bioclimatic aspects that we have forgotten, and they are there, and we have to use it for free. So or there are many materials, organic materials, that of course is not always easy, and it's not always in every country. Also regulations is an aspect that we have to review deeply. why it's so difficult sometimes to do such kind of things, because regulation is too tough, or we have created an over-regulation. So it's a mix, as David was saying, no? That never forget innovation and always keeping this path, creating new solutions, taking profit from all those possibilities, but never forgot
Yeah.
why we start to build. No, at the beginning we start to build to protect ourselves for the climate, for the wild animals, and okay, there are other important things, but first of all, it's create wellness, comfort, security, and then well, it's a mix, like almost everything. No, they try to reach this balance.
Yeah.
But
And
many things.
And Ricard, I think I would just add to that, in our initiative, one of the guiding principles we defined speaks to exactly what you're talking about, which is an ear to the past and an eye to the future, right? Respect what's been done before. And even in our trends this year, one of the trends we defined was the convergence of place keeping and place making, right? So respecting what's been done as well as sort of implementing new technologies. And JF, if I may, I've got 4 key takeaways I heard from each of our speakers. Would now be a good time to share them?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So Ricard, what I heard you say was focus on what are the priorities and define the objectives up front, which is so key. And then you also said something that I love, which is we measure what is measurable and we explain what isn't and why. You talked about the notion of healthier, and what I loved about that, and this is to the question that JF just posed to both of you, and that's really, you talked about what difference does each decision make to people's well-being? And I think if we're honest with ourselves, we can really look at the fact that maybe buildings have gotten healthier over the last 20 or 30 years, but people haven't. So we need to ask ourselves why that is. And then the fourth point I took from your conversation, which Susie spoke about at the start, was biophilia, really simply defined as really our relationship with the natural environment. And when we spend so much time indoors, how can we bring that natural environment in? And David, from you, I learned that you start with places rooted in surroundings and you look at architecture from the inside out, which is powerful because that means you're thinking about the humans and the individuals that will occupy the spaces you design before you think about the walls you're designing. Secondly, I heard you say and tell us, remind us, start with the story. You know, people are emotional beings first, and we all remember how a place makes us feel more than remember the details or the plaque on the wall. And then as it relates to El Bosque, I love that you said it wasn't about amenities. It was about reacting to life's vignettes and reacting to the community around you. And I know so many of my clients start a new master plan and ask themselves, well, where's the clubhouse? Where's the pool? Where's the trails? What are the amenities? And I challenge them, yeah, I see Amy shaking her head, to step back and think about the people we're designing for first. And then your fourth point I took away from the Serve Simply example was everything happens from the heart in that particular project and goes out from there. And so I just think that those were some really great takeaways, and I thank both of you for those insights.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have very little time. I don't know if you scanned the question. I got a couple of easy ones.
Yes.
The Swiss law is Minergie, Minergie. Someone commented on the amount of time we spend in our buildings. 84% of our time is spent in the built environment, guys. 84%. So that means that we spend, 16% outside the buildings. 75 to 80% of our, health outcomes, someone commented, Carolina, come from the built environment. So why the discussion is important and crucial, I think speaks for itself. Any other questions you can see?
Yeah, there was one for Ricard near the beginning of the webinar. Somebody asked him, have you developed levels of wellness in your projects?
Well, we do, but I must say that it's an internal criteria.
Okay.
It's everything we do can be argued or under discussion from others. It's not the only true about that. So, because as I was saying, we cannot measure it, the results of our work, of our tasks. So Considering this, we organize and we based or placed our suggestions, our proposals, based on this index that we have created for ourselves. That is the healthier. How much increase potentially or ideally our health doing this and that. And this healthier index, it goes with the dollar, I mean, with the cost, because if you have the challenge is, okay, if you have 100 euros per square meter to increase the health of one space, no? What are the most relevant or the most relevant or the most important strategies to do? You are going to use that money maybe if you are in Montana, probably you don't have to be worried about the air quality. But if you are in Manhattan, maybe noise, noise and air quality are very important to treat. And probably ergonomy is not going to be budget to spend in ergonomy or in accessibility. I don't know. But we create levels, of course, because when you have to take a decision, it's very important to measure the potential impact of your thoughts and your decisions, yes. But not in a kind of a certification. We do certifications like Well or Living with the Challenge or like DGMB, just as a checklist that, okay, market requests something that you have to show. But I think just the other day when we was preparing the webinar with Jean-François and Joan, we were saying we are trying to convince the insurance company, those who are covering the risk of sickness or death, is, okay, if you are living or working in a healthy place, would you reduce the cost of the insurance to cover my health or my potential risk of death? Because when we get this, it's a no discussion will argue about, okay, someone is saying that if you are living here, the risk of getting diseases or getting ill has been reduced, no? And we're working on that. So maybe
that's probably another webinar just in itself, Ricard. I was just going to say it's 6:59 here, and Ricard, you made it. You were able to go through it quickly.
We have to work together in that project with David, with you, with Joan, to see how can we convince the insurance companies to do that.
It's a fascinating subject. So as is always the case in these webinars, 7 questions into it, we still have 22 questions that we could ask you guys on the list. But thank you so much, Ricard, from Barcelona, David, should be from San Jose, but today in the Dominican Republic. And Terry, I'll leave the final words with you.
Can you pull up that last slide for me, please, JF? It'd be great on the symposium in New York.
Yes.
So thank you again, everyone, for spending time with us today. We know that time is everyone's most valuable possession right now, and we really, really do appreciate it, especially the engagement and the interactivity as well. And if you've enjoyed this conversation, we would really like to invite you to consider attending the 4th annual Wellness, Real Estate, and Community Symposium coming up this spring in New York City. It's on Tuesday, June 17th. It is a full day, packed. Every minute is of high value. I can speak from personal experience, having been to 3 of these events. This event will be hosted at West End Labs, which is very near Lincoln Center, again in downtown New York City. And there's a VIP event the evening before that'll be held at BBC Storyworks, which is a really amazing, very respected partner of the GWI, and has produced some films around wellness and wellness real estate. So we hope to see you all there. We'd like to invite you to continue the conversation, to reach out to JF or myself. And again, thank you very, very much for your time today.
Thank you, everyone, for
Thank you.
joining us.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good job.